Hello horror fans and welcome back to the scariest channel on YouTube, Top 5 Scary Videos, the place where we set up a slow motion slasher sequence and cower in fear under the covers. What's going on guys? As always, I'll be your horror host Jack Finch. As we creep into the closet, hide under a pile of old fur coats, cross our hearts and hope to die, stick a needle in my eye and hope that Mikey doesn't rear his ugly head in the top 5 Michael Myers scary kills. Roll the clip.
Well, did you get my beer?
Before we jump on in guys, let's get the house rules out of the way. If you're a fan of this video or just top 5 scary in general, you know what's up, hit that like button and be sure to subscribe so you can stay up to date with our daily dose of horror horrificness. Also, if you know any huge fans of Halloween, send this kill count their way because it'd be rude not to. Before we digress, if you've checked out yesterday's video on the Halloween 2018 Easter eggs, you'll know how much love I've got for this horror franchise and I sincerely hope that you guys are as hyped as I am. Since its incarnation in 1978, John Carpenter's indie horror classic Halloween has reached the lofty heights as hallmark of slasher horror movies. Forget about Freddy Krueger, forget about Wes Craven's Scream, although granted they're awesome, but it all began with Michael Myers. So let's take a look at his scariest scenes, shall we? Kicking off at number 5, Karen in the jacuzzi. Well, technically a hydrotherapy tub, but we'll let that one slide. Played by Pamela Susan Shoop in Halloween 2, Karen is a nurse at the nearby Haddonfield Memorial Hospital, in love with the unassuming and sheepish paramedic Bud Scarlotti. That's Bud with 2 D's of course. The pair decide that hospital business is too boring, so instead head out for a makeout session in the hospital's jacuzzi room. Before this scene though, Michael Myers strangles Bud with a cable and then enters the room as Karen's changing back into her nurse's uniform. Of course, she thinks it's Bud, and a weird scene with Myers' hand occurs, and then this happens.
Don't be that way.
Disgustingly gory, right? Karen's repeatedly dunked into the increasingly scalding hot water of the tub, and weirdly enough, Myers isn't affected one bit by the temperature. Well, that's just the beginning. Next up at number 4, John Strode in the basement. Listen up horror fans, when you find yourself in a situation like this, you know that something bad is about to go down, so promise me you'll just head back upstairs, leave the house, leave town and never come back again. Okay? Well, if John Stroud would have listened to that advice, then maybe things would have been a little bit different. But no, that'd be wishful thinking for him. Alright, we'll get it out of the way. Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers is a pretty crappy film. It was the mid-90s and some strange stuff was in the water, but that doesn't mean the 6th film in the franchise doesn't have its share of awesome death scenes. No, in fact quite the opposite. And there's no one better than to meet their grisly end other than the crappy, abusive, alcoholic father, John Strode. In short, he gets blown up by the electrical box like some weird, gory 4th of July exhibit, and it's fantastic. Coming in at number 3, Judith Myers in the bedroom. If you know the story of John Carpenter's classic, you know that Michael Myers' path to psychopathy began with the brutal murder of his own sister, Judith Myers, before he was caught and branded a nightmare to society and locked away at Smith's Grove Sanitarium. While this iconic POV kill is the stuff of cinematic mastery, and while some people prefer the version of the 2007 Rob Zombie remake, for me, this scene just can't be topped. For one, listen to this music. Genius, right? Well, it gets better. The fact that the film itself begins with this scene on a Halloween night in a sleepy Midwestern town is such a tough act to top. And then we get the point of view shot of a young Myers dressed in a creepy clown costume, seemingly an innocent trick-or-treater, a fan of the one night of the year when fear becomes fun. And then this happens. Genius. Swinging it at number 2, Nurse Jill in the hallway. Halloween 2, while not directed by John Carpenter but had his approval, got a lot of things right that the first film managed to establish. The main thing being that Michael Myers, while being a psychopathic murderer and still very much human, is a force like no other. It didn't rely on some of the narrative ploys in the later films like druid magic and cultist rituals, but just incredibly terrifying scenes like this one that made us think as viewers, what the hell? What actually is this monstrosity of a man? There's not a lot I can say other than to show you. The pacing, the music, the long pauses, the static shots, and those shoes dropping right at the end. Perfect. And finally, at our number one spot, Annie in the car. Here we are at the point where John Carpenter inspired an entire universe of horror fandom. In the original televised version of Halloween, the scene was edited and relegated to a briefer grab and slash and was cut short in just a quick 10-second sequence. In the unedited version though, the way that John Carpenter intended, it's one of the most horrifying, visceral and fear-inducing scenes in horror cinema. It begins with Annie Brackett, played by Nancy Loomis, getting ready to leave her house humming a classic folk song to herself and generally being a charming teenager.
Oh, I can no longer
She then heads to her car ready for a night out, and of course we know who's waiting there. She notices that the car's windshield is strangely fogged up, but just as this realization hits, Michael Myers grabs her from the back, and then we're hit with a frighteningly real strangulation scene that seems to go on forever. Now this scene is a combination of things, a layering of several great horror elements that hit us hard as viewers. For one, the character's silence. Other than Annie's guttural wheezes, there is zero dialogue. On top of this, the car horn as Annie tries frantically to alert someone to her aid by any means possible. Even though it's in the middle of a vibrant neighborhood, it falls on deaf ears. And then it's all pierced by a final gut-wrenching synth rip and her death. Cinematic genius, masterful filmmaking, and absolutely terrifying. Well, that's all we've got time for today, guys. Would you like to see more videos like this where we break down horror cinema into neat little terrifying packages? Let us know in the comment section down below. If you've enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and I'll be seeing you in the next one. As always, I've been your host, Jack Finch. You've been watching Top 5 Scary Videos, and until next time, you take it easy.